the baby's refusing bottles. So babies go long hours between feeds, even 6 hours, and they don't show hunger cues and they don't take the bottle or the breast. And they scream or just get tense in the feeding position when you put them in the feeding position, or when they see the bottle or the breast, they scream or just get upset. They don't necessarily have to cry. Not all babies cry, but they get tense and upset. You can feel that.
Hey guys, you're listening to episode number 95 of the Mom Talks with Christa podcast. I hope you're having a great week so far. We got another exciting episode for you today. So I'm so glad you are here to listen and hang out with me for a little bit. Today's guest, who will be featured later on the show, is Szilvia Lanzas. She is the Bottle Aversion Coach. I did not know, to be all honest with you, I did not know there was a bottle aversion coach out there. And we've over the years have had a lot of questions about bottle aversion. So if you have had your questions about this or currently do, stick around because it's a really great episode. But before we get to that, I want to talk about something really important going on this week. So tomorrow starts Black Breastfeeding Week, and you might be asking yourself, what is Black Breastfeeding Week? I know we had World Breastfeeding Week the first week of August, and then all of August is National Breastfeeding Month. And so you might be asking, what is it? Why do we have it? Where can I get more information and all that? So I just want to give you a little synopsis of what it is, give you a little background to it, and then some resources where you can get some more information. So first, let me give you some background. This is the 10th year that we have Black Breastfeeding Week. It always falls in the last week of August of National Breastfeeding Month, like I kind of just mentioned. Every year there is a key theme to it that is pulled out. But generally, the main goal is to help support racial equality, cultural empowerment, and community engagement. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this and you can help spread the word. As I was kind of on the Black Breastfeeding Week website, which is blackbreastfeedingweek.org, I found some really helpful and important information. I'm going to cover just some of it, but I want you guys to check it out as well. So here are the top 5 reasons that we need Black Breastfeeding Week. So number 1, and you might have heard of some of these, and some of these you might be shocked by. And if you're shocked by it, that means we're not talking about it enough, and we need to share this so we can bring more attention to it, support to it, and see how we can make a change together. And so it's really important. These are some scary rates, some scary things that the Black community deals with. And so as much as we can, we need to be a listening ear, see how we can help. Okay, so number 1, high Black infant mortality rate. Black babies are dying at twice the rate of white babies. And this even goes into Black mothers. They have a higher rate of mortality during labor as well. So this is a very scary rate that a lot of people are looking into, and there's a lot that can be done. Number 2, high rates of diet-related diseases from upper respiratory infections, type 2 diabetes, asthma, SIDS, and childhood obesity. 3, lack of diversity in the lactation field, disparities in breastfeeding rates in general. We see there's a big disparity in people that choose to breastfeed or are given the support to breastfeed after having a baby in the hospital. And that depends on the hospital, it depends on how our nurses encouraging them to breastfeed and what resources or material are there. So disparities in breastfeeding rates, as well as disparities in breastfeeding leadership as well. So this can be, lactation consultants or nurses or doctors in the community. We're not seeing as many people of color represented. And this is a huge thing. You need to see more representation because it creates this illusion that breastfeeding only happens if you're white or if you are a certain race. And so I think people want to see themselves in, whether it's a website or it's a pamphlet, a catalog, whatever it is, they want to see themselves and see like, oh, look, I can do it because, I see someone that looks like me. Number 4, unique cultural barriers among Black women. Black women have a complex history connected to breastfeeding, from their role as wet nurses in slavery, being forced to breastfeed slave owners' children, to the lack of mainstream role models. So this goes back a long time in history where if there was a negative impact of breastfeeding in a certain family, there might not be the support that we need today in order to breastfeed. And number 5, desert-like conditions in communities. Many African American communities do not have access or support for breastfeeding. So we're looking at, again, hospitals. Maybe there's not as many breastfeeding classes or pamphlets, or maybe the nurses are more likely to give formula right away. And nurses talking in different areas, urban areas versus suburban versus country, different areas around the country. And so these are just 5 reasons. There's so many reasons why we need Black Breastfeeding Week. And if some of these were shocking to you, they're shocking to a lot of people, I think we need to do more research, see how we can help. I also want to share my favorite resources and accounts hosted by Black women and creators during this week. So one of my all-time favorites is Rue the Boob Boss. We've had her on the show. She is a nurse and lactation consultant. She owns her own company and helps so many women. So check out her page. Also, the Postpartum Clinic does so much for the Black community. I had Kayla on the show a few years ago. Couple years ago, maybe it was last year, I lose track of time, but we've continued to connect with Kayla. She does so much with raising money, trying to create more representation, support in her community, which is just amazing. And District Motherhood, I actually had the creators of District Motherhood on our show last year talking about her book called Boobies Go Bye Bye. And it was just amazing. She holds so many events during Black Breastfeeding Week. So I would check it out, see if you can get involved. And finally, District Motherhood is one of my favorite accounts to follow. So we had Nikki and Sienna, authors of Boobies Go Bye Bye, on the show last year talking about Black Breastfeeding Week and why we need it. And it was a really important live. So if you missed it, go back and check it on our page, and their book is amazing. But Nikki hosts so many amazing events for Black Breastfeeding Week. Maybe they'll, have an event in a park where you can all go breastfeed. So if you have a local business and you want to get involved, see how you can donate, see how you can help, please reach out to them. She always has some kind of amazing events. But there are so many others. So please, spread your horizons, look online, see how you can help, and show your support, because it's definitely needed. This is something that we need to talk about more than just once a year, honestly, because there's so many disparities that we don't see talked about in mainstream news. We don't see it talked about. So there's a lot we can do. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So like I said earlier, please check out blackbreastfeedingweek.org for more information. There's a ton of great information how you can get involved, all different organizations within it as well. Okay, on to Mom Talks. Last week we had Dr. Colleen Reichman, and she talked about body positivity. This is such an important episode if you have ever struggled with disordered eating or shame around eating and you don't want to pass it on to your children. And I feel like there's this fear around disordered eating. Hearing it, it's like, oh, well, I don't have an eating disorder. I'm not, I don't have that. But disordered eating, and I'm no expert, just talking with Colleen and kind of seeing some research here and there, but disordered eating is more of a broader scale. It's, maybe you go to the store and you are so concerned about the ingredients in there. And this is not talking about if you have an allergy or, something like an intolerance to something, but you're more concerned about fat content, or you feel guilty maybe if you indulge in a cookie. Certain things we kind of dive into a little bit more, but I highly suggest, if you did not listen to that episode, go back and listen to it, because she shares some amazing tips for how to understand disordered eating. Maybe you do have it and you don't realize it, and how to not pass it on to your children, and to encourage them to love their bodies and not feel shame around what they eat or what they look like. And it's really quite a beautiful episode. So I encourage you to listen to that. Next week, I have a solo pod, which we talk about the 3 parts of self-compassion. And this was a talk I did for a peanut pod. And I share those on here from time to time because I just want to give you guys like a little snippet of what you can get on the peanut pod in a more live sense. So on the peanut pod, it's all live, so you can interact and we can engage. But it was very well received. And I actually did a lot of research for this one. And so, yeah, so this was a fun one to kind of put together because I learned a ton through the research and we just had a great discussion. Obviously, we take out all the discussion parts. It's just me talking for, confidentiality purposes. Okay. And finally, on to today's episode, I have Szilvia Lanzas. I kind of talked about this earlier. She's the Bottle Aversion Coach. So without saying too much more, I've got the intro coming for you. Here is the episode. Enjoy. And thanks again for hanging out with me and listening to Mom Talks with Christa. Hope you have a great week. All right, this is for the moms that have had those hard times trying to feed their baby, and it seems like nothing you do will work. They're turning their heads, they're pushing it away, and you're not sure what to do. You're kind of panicked at this point. This next guest is for you. Today we have Szilvia Lanzas, who is a bottle aversion coach. And through struggles with her own daughter, she learned exactly what worked to help with bottle aversion. So we have a great discussion, and she shares her big tips for helping moms tackle this issue and be able to feed their babies once and for all. So we have a really great discussion, and I love talking with Szilvia. And so if you are in the thick of it right now, not sure where to turn or what to do, this episode is for you. So without further ado, here's my interview with Szilvia Lanzas, the Bottle Aversion Coach. Enjoy. Interviewing people on this podcast, a lot of the women I talked to, they got into the work they do because of their children or different things that they went through themselves. So it's very common. It's very interesting. And you have an interesting story of like how you got into the work you do with bottle and breast aversion. And you talk a lot about bottle aversion and help parents with this. So how did you get into the work you specifically do?
It was very interesting. So my daughter, when she was 2 months old, after her 2 months vaccination, she started refusing bottles. And I didn't know what was going on at that time. First, I thought, oh, she's just not hungry. She just got the shot. And it kept going. So I started thinking, oh, something is wrong here. Maybe she didn't like the formula. So I changed the formula. It didn't work. And it got worse and worse. So we got to a point when I put her in my arms and she was like jumping out of my arms, screaming, arching back, and she didn't drink. So I forced her in the beginning. I'm not proud of it, but I wanted her to drink. I was worried. And we got to a point where she went 8-10 hours without drinking, and she didn't drink in her sleep. So obviously I was panicking and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something is wrong, right? So I searched the internet and I found out about this thing called bottle aversion, and it matched what we were going through. And I found a method that I read overnight, and I started implementing right away. And my baby didn't eat for 3 days, but after that she started eating, and I was like, oh, finally, it's done. We solved it. And it lasted for 2 days. And then she went back to square one. She screamed, arched back. And I broke down. I just cried. I just didn't know what to do. I was totally at my wit's end. And my husband jumped in. He has the mindset background too. And he was like, oh, she just linked bad feelings to feelings. Let's just change it to good ones. And I was like, yeah, right. If that was that simple, why we are here after a month of struggling. But anyway, he took our baby, and I was scared. I thought he was making things worse. I don't know how, possibly worse, but I thought he will ruin our baby. But he didn't. He did something for 15 minutes, and our baby drank. And I was like shocked. I just couldn't believe it. I thought it's a fluke. No way, no way. After 15 minutes, she's fine. But next feeding time came, and I tried, and I did the same as my husband, and our baby drank. So it did work. And we had to repeat the process a few times, but after 3 weeks, it was gone, never came back. And I was like, we have to share this with the world. Like, there's no way we are the only ones who are struggling with this. So I asked my husband to go on video because I didn't want to. I really want to be on video. And we made a video, put it on YouTube. And I was shocked about the comments, the questions. There were a lot of people, way more than I expected, going through the same thing. And I got questions, and I thought, oh, it was not clear. So 3 months later, I went on video and I made a clarification. I put it up, and I got even more questions. So after 2 years of getting questions and comments, I decided to just do this, that help babies. That will be my thing. My daughter was 2 years old that time, so I had a little more time. And I broke down what we did into steps so everybody could repeat. They don't have to have our background. And I put it in an ebook, and I gave it away for free and to 100 people. And I waited for the feedback. I refined it, and okay, I said it works. And then I just started selling the ebooks. I started doing consultations. And I got requests for breast aversion, but since I didn't have experience with it, I said, I don't know if it would work. So I kind of just said, I don't do that. But I got more and more requests. So I asked for some volunteers to try it out. I modified it for breastfeeding, and it worked. So since then, it's been about a year. So 2 years for bottle aversion and about a year for breast aversion. It's been working. So
that's amazing. That's so cool. Like, and I bet like you felt so much like relief when you kind of figured out this like trick. And I want to get back to, the YouTube video and the process. But first, for moms listening that are like, oh, I think my baby might have this, what are the telltale signs of bottle aversion?
it starts usually with skipping meals. So the babies, and there is no teething, no underlying issues. Or if there are underlying issues, then they are already solved. So it could be reflux, tongue-tied, it's already resolved or under control. But the baby's refusing bottles. So babies go long hours between feeds, even 6 hours, and they don't show hunger cues, and they don't take the bottle or the breast. And they scream or just get tense in the feeding position when you put them in the feeding position, or when they see the bottle or the breast, they scream or just get upset. They don't necessarily have to cry. Not all babies cry, but they get tense and upset. You can feel that. The only way you can feed your babies when drowsy or asleep. That's the most common one. So most parents get to a point when they can only feed when the baby is asleep and they've been doing it for a while. These are the main ones.
Okay. And you hear a lot of people talk about, their baby refusing the bottle. And so what is the difference between bottle refusal and bottle aversion? Or is there? Are they linked, or are they two completely different things?
Yeah, great question. There is a difference. So when we say bottle refusal, I mean, I used it before because I didn't know about bottle aversion. But what is bottle refusal typically is when exclusively breastfed babies are trying to get on bottles, to take the bottle the first time, or after a few weeks off or a few months off, because many babies take easily in the first few weeks, but then parents relaxing, oh, the baby took the bottle, they will be fine 4 months from now. But that's not the case, because 4 months from now, the baby has no idea what to do with the bottle. So bottle refusal due to breast preference, that's the longer name, is when breastfed babies don't want to take the bottle and parents try everything and then it just doesn't work. So that's what we call bottle refusal. And bottle aversion is typically for exclusively bottle fed babies or breastfed babies who have an established bottle feeding routine. So they have been taking the bottle for months without a problem. There were no time off. And then they suddenly refusing the bottle. And then they go long hours and they show these signs for bottle aversion. That's what we call bottle aversion. And it's a different process to solve bottle refusal and bottle aversion.
And so is this something like, so for bottle aversion, is this something that, happens over time? I know you said it happened with your daughter when, after she got her shot. So is this something that happens over time, or she was, born with? Or some babies could be born with?
No, typically they are not born with this, but they have some type of issue before the bottle aversion. It's very rare that there is no underlying issue or event beforehand, and people or babies just develop the aversion. So the most common one, the baby is a preemie. So they are used to having, they have to feed the baby a certain amount. It's for survival. And then they stay in that habit, and then parents pressure their babies. So that's very common for preemies. Babies who have reflux, CMPA, or they had tongue tie, it's reversed, but during that period of time, they had pain. So the issue is that the baby experiences pain or discomfort during feeds and drinking less because of that. And parents are worried, so they pressure babies to drink more. And the combination of this issue and the pressuring cause bottle aversion. So it's caused, or babies are not born with this.
I know I kind of wanted to then go kind of back to this discovery of how to help babies. I'm sure there's a lot of moms listening that are like, okay, I know my baby has this. So what is this trick, or what is the thing that you guys kind of discovered through working with your daughter on this?
So it would be long to describe the whole thing,
right?
But the main thing that you could do right now, so first of all, like bottle aversion is caused by linking bad feelings to feelings. So to solve it, we need to link good feelings to feelings. And babies know unconsciously, so it's not conscious. Their bodies know that feeding is coming. So that's why most babies get upset in the feeding position. So the first thing you could do is change the feeding position so the baby doesn't have that association with the position. And by feeding position, I mean not the room. It's if you're feeding your baby in your arms, then feed your baby outside your arms in a bouncer, stop it from moving, or on a pillow. Find a place where your baby is comfortable and you've never fed the baby before, because the baby doesn't associate it with feedings. And the second part is to stop pressuring your baby. So what it means is your baby says no, somehow turning head or pushing the nipple out with their tongue, or just moving away from the bottle. Then listen to your baby and honor the refusal, and then give your baby a minute or two and then reoffer. So these are the main ones that you could do right away without going into the whole process. These two make a big difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it's more about like associating a positive, good feeling with feeding instead of like being forced or uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you talk about one of the common mistakes being like forcing, when a baby is kind of like turning away, forcing. So in that situation, like what should parents do in that situation where they feel like, if I don't try, the baby's not going to eat, kind of in that panic mode of, what can I do in this situation? Do you like recommend that they take a break? Do you recommend that they, in that time, like move to a different room, different position? How can they kind of move through that like panic?
Very good question. Very practical. I like it. So you choose a new feeding position and you listen to your baby's cues. And it's important not to offer too many times because that's annoying. So if you just imagine yourself, you say no, and then somebody trying to feed you, it's just annoying. It's the same for babies. So try a few times, but take a minute or two in between offers. So it's not a constant trying to feed. So your baby can have a little break, and make sure your baby's calm during that time. So your baby is not upset, and try a few times. And after that, stop and give your baby an hour and then try again. So give your baby enough opportunities to drink, but not over offer, and also take longer breaks between feeding attempts. And babies can go long hours, especially in the beginning without feed. And it is not easy. It's tough for parents to see that. But if you think about your baby as a team member, you work with your baby, then you wouldn't force a team member to do something, right? You do your part and then wait for the other person to do their part. So babies will do their part. They need a little time.
Mm-hmm.
But they will eventually do. And if the baby doesn't drink, so we don't want the baby to get dehydrated. If the baby doesn't drink the whole day, then drink feed at night to catch up so the baby won't get dehydrated.
Okay, great. And you talk a lot about, after you kind of develop this strategy for, bottle aversion, kind of moving into teaching people about breast aversion too, because there's some similarities. So what are the similarities? And then how is breast aversion slightly different? And how can that be kind of like modified for moms?
So with breast aversion, there's probably less opportunities to force the baby. The only way with bottle, there are different ways to pressure a baby to drink. With breast aversion, it's either just holding the baby or over offering. The ways of pressuring or swaddling, drip feeding, these are forms of pressuring. But the principles are the same. So the breastfed babies get upset in the feeding position. They also go long hours. The difference here is that sometimes babies take the breast, they start drinking, but then they come off often. So they are popping off, I don't know, every 10 seconds or so until they get like too agitated and then cry. So that's the difference. Yeah, but the principles are the same. We want the baby to feel calm when getting into the feeding position, and also have an enjoyable experience during feeds to link these positive feelings to feelings to feelings.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, where can I see this YouTube video, or what other courses do you have, or how can people work with you to get your specialized tips as well?
So my website is bottleaversion.com, and my YouTube channel is Bottle Aversion, so easy to find. And I have a 2-week consultation program, which is a one-on-one program where I work with families 2 weeks straight. Every day we are in touch, and typically babies recover in 4 to 5 days. And then the volume increases for another 2-3 weeks. I also have a video course that is self-paced, that without daily support, but it has everything that my consultation program has. And I also have the ebook, which I started with. I have a step-by-step process in there. It's not as complete as my video program, but many parents succeed with only that. And I have my Instagram page where I have a lot of tips. Like I have, I don't know, 300 posts or something. Those are all tips.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's great to have, because we get a lot of questions too about, baby not wanting to take bottle. And I'm sure there's so many different reasons or different, things you can look into as, expert in the area. So I'd love to send people your direction to be able to help them with these different kinds of things. And so I always like to end these interviews with fun thinking question, I call it. And so if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
Only one.
I know, I'm like, You can fit a couple things sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say two things. One is work with your baby as a team. The reason is because I made that mistake, and I know I'm not the only one, that I thought I knew better than my baby. So that's why I was pressuring her to feed, and I wanted her to drink a specific amount. So I didn't work with her as a team. So work with your baby as a team, and the other one is to listen to your guts. So if you feel like something is not right, something is wrong, then there is something wrong. So
Mm,
just listen to your guts. That will be these two.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, no, that's great advice. 'Cause I think so many times we try to dismiss like what we're feeling, or someone's like, ah, it's fine. Like you're like, but I know, like, something's off, something's not right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great advice. And then of
Okay.
course, where can everyone follow you?
The best place is my Instagram page. My handle is the Bottle Aversion Coach, and YouTube channel. I have a few videos, but the Instagram is the best.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of great information out there. So this will be great for people to have. So yeah, I thank you so much for coming on, and I cannot wait to share it with our moms.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, time for the Mom Tales of the Week, and we are going on our pregnancy reveal kind of theme of questions. And so this week we said, tell us about the time you found out you were pregnant. So we got some fun stories for you. Okay, number 1, Dominique. I was literally oblivious to it and never even thought that the reason I was getting sick was because I was pregnant. One day while I was at work making protein shakes for people, I took a deep breath and felt sick to my stomach, which was odd considering I love the smell of the protein powder we use. Cut off there for a second. Okay. But I ran to the back, and when I came back to the front, the customer, who was a regular and always stayed to talk with me while I got her order, asked me if I was pregnant. I said, not that I'm aware of. She just looked at me with this look and said, oh girl, you are glowing in a way that only pregnant women can glow. She gave me a hug and walked out of the store. I just kind of laughed about it until the next morning when I got Chick-fil-A and got nauseous at even the smell of it. The Chick-fil-A minis are my favorite thing in the world. I waited until the next morning before taking a test. I thought I peed on it too much because it came back positive within a minute. And it said that it usually takes about 5 minutes or so for it to come back. So I just went on with my life like I wasn't pregnant, until my boyfriend asked if we should take another test just to be sure. I ended up peeing in a bowl, all the cups were dirty, and used that method. Came back positive. As it turned out, I was about 2 months pregnant. Oh my gosh, had to give up Chick-fil-A and protein shakes. Oh no. Sounds like you were a little in denial. You're like, well, I probably just peed on it too much. That's probably why it came back positive. That's hilarious. Okay. Number 2, Andrea. Oh, I'll share the story of when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So I'd been extremely lethargic for about a week, and everything was making me nauseous. I knew something was up when I was eating my favorite ice cream from Cold Stone, the German chocolate, and I had the urge to throw up. Oh no! Not ice cream. I was hoping I was wrong because my first was only 1, and we weren't planning to have more until my son was at least 3 and potty trained. Well, my symptoms continued. My appetite became non-existent, and everything made me sick to my stomach. I decided to bite the bullet and get a pregnancy test. I went to the Dollar Tree and bought a cheap test. I went home and peed on the stick. Those 2 lines lit up immediately like Christmas lights, and I stared at the results in shock. I immediately called my husband crying because I was not ready for 2 under 2. My son was already running me ragged. I eventually got over it and embraced my pregnancy, but initially I was having a conversation with God, like, why would you do this to me? Why? Oh my gosh. Man, if Cold Stone is making you feel sick, that has got to be a sign for sure. I mean, obviously, unless you're like, have the flu or something. But man, well, sometimes things just happen and you didn't necessarily plan for it, but I'm sure you feel really grateful now to have 2 little ones. Number 3, Alexis. I was working. I work from home for a call center, and my grandma comes in and asks if I would like mango cut up with tahini, and I said, oh no, ew. That's my favorite fruit. Then she brings my mom's cucumbers with lemon and tahini, and I reacted the same. My mom was like, dude, are you pregnant? And I responded, no, that's impossible. But it wasn't impossible. It doesn't say that. I just, added that for my own context. Okay. I went to break shortly after, ran to the bathroom and took a cheap dollar store pregnancy test. Hey, those dollar store pregnancy tests. Apparently that's where it's at. Okay. I had in the bottom of my cabinet and straight away it was 2 lines. I panicked and showed my mom and she ran to Walgreens to get 2 clear blue tests just to make sure. Peed on the sticks again and again, 2 lines. Wasn't impossible. Okay, number 4, Grace S. I took a test as a joke at work, fainted in the bathroom, and then I woke up in the hospital. So fun. What? I need more to this story. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to ask, I don't know if you're going to listen and respond, but I would love a response and maybe we can share it later. But 1, why would you take one as a joke? Were you feeling symptoms or did someone dare you or were other people doing it? Like, I have so many questions about that. Then you fainted in the bathroom. Did you faint because it said positive or were you already like feeling kind of like nauseous or weak? And then you woke up in the hospital. I hope everything's okay. And if you're taking it as a joke, were your coworkers like around you and they were like, oh my gosh, like, I just feel like we need so much more to this story. All right, so Grace, let us know. All right, number 5, Megan. I took a test and expected it to be negative because we were trying for 8 years and got used to being let down. Lo and behold, it was positive. I texted my husband who was at work and then went to my mom bawling my eyes out because I was so emotional. When my husband got home, we took another test just to make sure it wasn't a fluke, and that too was positive. It was a magical moment. Went to the doctor for confirmation and then went to the OB who then said I'm high risk to miscarry, which crushed me because we just found out my husband had cancer. Oh my gosh. I cannot imagine finding out those 2 things around the same time. It was a very easy pregnancy up until delivery, but everything is great. He's absolutely perfect and healthy and 2.5 months old. And husband is cancer-free right now, but waiting because they found a new mass on his kidney. Man, well, I hope everything is okay with your husband. I'm glad he's cancer-free right now, and I hope it stays that way. They caught whatever they just found early enough. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to learn and to figure out in a really short amount of time. But I'm glad everything is going good right now. Okay, number 6, Daisy. I was taking shots with my husband and his uncles and realized, whoa, I'm 4 shots in and I feel nothing. Is that a thing? Like if you're pregnant and you're taking shots, you don't feel anything? Literally never heard that before, but okay. So I got kind of worried, stopped drinking, and then we later stopped at a liquor store before going home and took the test and I was positive, even though it was so planned. So has 4 O's. So even though it was so planned, I didn't think it would happen so fast. We were laughing and crying at the same time. I need to look into this shot thing. I feel like, it's obviously not like encouraged when you're that early. I'm sure people have drank before knowing they were pregnant, but you really don't feel anything? I don't know. Something I gotta look up another time. Okay, number 7, Madison. This might be kind of long, but my husband and I have been together since 8th grade. At 21, we got married and have been trying for a baby ever since. Last year, I was 25, about to be 26. I found out I was pregnant and ended up miscarrying 2 months later. Oh, I'm sorry. It was really hard, and we had the conversation that I didn't want to try again because I just couldn't take the pain. A week after that conversation, I had a positive pregnancy test. The first thing I did was cry. I was so happy. I was scared. I was and wasn't ready for it. We didn't tell anyone except my mom and mother-in-law. We just stayed quiet and waited. At 12 weeks, I had my ultrasound and expected nothing to be there, but there she was. And now this Sunday, I'm being induced with my rainbow baby. It's been an amazing and emotional journey. Wow, that is a lot again to take in a small amount of time, because you're probably still getting over that miscarriage before seeing that you're pregnant with another baby. So I can only imagine the fear and anxiety, but also happiness that comes in that short amount of time. And I'm so happy for you. That's so exciting. And this Sunday, so I'm guessing it was like 2 Sundays ago now. So hopefully everything went well. Baby's here and healthy. Awesome. Okay, number 8, anonymous. I took a test at 2 a.m. Thanksgiving morning because my anxiety was taunting me with the idea I might be pregnant, even though I had just missed my very irregular period. When I saw it was positive, my first thought was, oh no, I used a broken one. I love this thought that it's oh, it's not positive. I just peed too much on it. Oh, I used a broken one. They sell broken ones now. And I took another one. When that one was also positive, it finally clicked for me. In absolute shock, I went to the bathroom and silently motioned for my husband to follow me back to the back room so he could see it. We were both very happy, and it was hard to fall asleep after that, not to mention holding our tongues while visiting both our families for the holidays. We've been married 6 years and finally had our first child. Wow, that is a lot too. I mean, to find out right before the holiday and then being like, okay, can't tell anyone, but that's fun. That's a fun way to kind of find out. Oh, 2 a.m. on Thanksgiving. Okay, number 9, Cheyenne. I went to the ER from feeling sick, and they told me I was pregnant. I found out at 6 weeks. My husband and I both cried for a few hours as we were both young, 20, and I didn't know what to think. But now, as I'm typing this, I'm holding our little girl and couldn't be more happy. Wow, you had to go to the... I'm so I want to know more to the story. What caused you to go to the ER? What were you feeling? What were you, your symptoms? Wow. But it's always good to hear a happy ending at the end. I love that. That was so fun. We're going to continue with this kind of theme next week with tell us how your child reacted when they found out they were going to have a sibling. And I love this one. I love watching these videos. So videos are great, and I wish I could share everyone's videos, but unfortunately we can't. But if you, describe it. I mean, these videos I love seeing these videos because it's all over the place. Some kids get really excited while others are like, don't give me a sibling. So it's just kind of funny. All right, guys, that's all the mom tales I have for this week. Thanks to everyone that submitted their responses. If you want to read more, we got tons on our Facebook group and social media. That's where we always post our questions. New questions are posted every single Friday. So stay tuned for this week's question, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. But before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified of future episodes. We release new episodes every single Wednesday. See you next week.